We're live today. I'm Robin Cartwright with Hidden Gems Coaching, and I'm here live to talk to you again about confidence. So I'm going to wait a few minutes and see if people get on. In the meantime, I'm going to make sure I've got my um, information set up here so that I can hear you chat with me. I'm really excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to share with you today about confidence. We're going to talk a little bit about moving into confidence and feeling better about yourself. It's funny because I'm doing this also alongside my son who's in college, and he's kind of dealing with confidence himself and feeling good about his situation and confidence. So it's a lot of information that you have to learn and move forward with. So I'm going to dive in with confidence and kind of give you some pointers. And, I remember first off being in school and trying to feel confident about life. And it is not so easy sometimes because when you first start out in college, you're trying to absorb everything. When you first start out on your job, you're trying to take it all on. You start a new job. When you get laid off, you're feeling like the end of the world. And what a lot of people do is rather than start feeling better about themselves and making themselves feel better, is they tend to wallow in it and just drown themselves. You don't want to do that. You don't want to stay in a situation where you aren't feeling confident. So, I'm going to give you a little story and kind of tell you about how I got out of it a long time ago in my career. And hopefully, this will give you some tips to help you get out of it. So, when I was in my career early on, I wanted to move into a higher position. I wanted to move into a sense of management. I wasn't really sure how to do this, and I didn't think that the company saw me as a manager. They just saw me as a worker bee. And I wanted this management opportunity. I wanted to grow, I wanted to learn. So, I went ahead and I did some research on what the position was about. I went online, I researched the position, and I learned what does it take to be in this next role that I want to be at? And do I have the skills to get there? After I reviewed about 20 different positions, then I decided to go and list my skills. And I put them all in a list and decided what skills do I have and what skills do I need to go get. So at the time, the economy wasn't that great and you were lucky to have a job. So I went ahead and I just took the time. We had a university program and I took the time to go out and get my certification program. And I got certified in professional human resources. It was a long process. It was a bit grueling. It was on the evenings and weekends, but I worked really hard at it. You had to take a test, and I completed it. Woohoo! But I got out of my comfort zone. I got out of my everyday, clock in, clock out type of mode. And I decided to expand my knowledge, grow my career, and take this. I didn't have to pay for it. The company had a program. They reimbursed me for the cost, which was really nice because it was an expensive program at the time. And I wasn't making that much money. I also started talking to individuals in the company about what they did. How did they do it? How did they do their job so that I could understand the job a little bit more? I really wanted to understand the job more. Then I started asking if I could take on projects that had to do with that job. So maybe I wasn't in that role and I didn't have that title, but I got on committees, or I volunteered my time, or I would just sit there and listen at times when there was a meeting that I could listen into to understand what it is this individual did in the role, what you needed to do, and how to be and how to act. And essentially, I started acting as if. So I'm going to reference John Canfield. He talks, or Jack Canfield, yeah, he talks a lot about acting as if, and you really do need to put yourself into that position before you get that position for several reasons. One, you got to build your confidence and not feel like you're an imposter, and imposter syndrome is huge. oftentimes we are in small companies, we get promoted into these roles and we're not ready for them. And the reason we're not ready for them is because we don't feel confident in ourselves. You have to feel confident about who you are and your skills to take on that role. Sometimes there's training that we need to do. And so like in my story, I went out and got training. And I've done this several times in my career. This was just a long time ago. I did it later in my career when I wanted to elevate into a higher position. I went to my C level. I took the job descriptions. I had the conversation. I learned the communication techniques of other individuals, which I do have a communications workshop that I did last month. I'm sure I'm going to be doing it live again in the new year, but I will be on Udemy at the end of this month. So if you want to go check it out, go on to Udemy. I think by the end of this week, you can go on to Udemy and check out the course. But I learned the communication techniques and the communication styles of other individuals so that I could pivot my conversation in that direction. So if they were very analytical minded, my conversation was more analytical. If they were more of a personal nature, my conversation was more of a personal nature. So I really researched and learned the communication styles so that I could go into these conversations with strategy. Had all my documentation, had my list of who I was and what my skills were and how to bring that to the table. I learned how to communicate with the individuals I needed to talk to. And all of this takes time, but it was one step at a time. And early on when I did it, I just researched, I talked to people, I learned, I went and got my certification. All of that gave me confidence to go in and talk to the manager and say, hey, I'm ready. I want this job. This is what I'm looking for. This is where I want to go. And what do I need to do to get there? Not how can I get there? Not when can I get there? What do I need to do to get there? Ask them. One, I set the stage. I told them I was interested. Two, I built my confidence up by doing the work beforehand. I took the class. I researched the job. I wrote out my skills. And later in my career, I learned the communication styles of leaders. I started learning about leaders. What do they expect from you? I even went out and got a coach and a mentor to help me along the path. And I liked the coaching because it helped keep me accountable to my goals. I met with the coach every couple weeks and we had this plan and it kept me in check. Then when I worked with a mentor, that was somebody who was in the job, that she was doing the job, and that helped me because I could learn from her. She understood where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do and gave me a lot of points that I hadn't even thought of to move into this conversation. So it did take time, but I was doing it one step at a time to build my confidence to move into that conversation. And guess what? In both those scenarios, I landed that job. It wasn't when I got out of the meeting. When I first did it and I got out of the meeting, my manager said, well, I'm glad you let me know. Yes, you've got the skills for the job. And yes, we're ready to move you in there. We're just not ready right now, but I will keep you in mind when that opportunity works up and we have the opportunity for you. So there really wasn't the job, but right before I unfortunately was laid off from the company, my manager did have the opportunity and I did get into the role just for a couple months, but at least I got the title and I got into the role and I was able to put that on my resume, which then catapulted me into the next job. Later in my career, I did this much more strategic with the leaders and talked to the C levels. And I didn't just talk to one C level, I talked to them all and told them what I wanted to do. And remind you, it was a different conversation because each person I talked to, I had to communicate to differently because they had different communication styles. They thought differently. But with my mentor and my coach and all my homework beforehand, I was confident and ready to take that conversation to the next level. It did take me a while to get the job. I had to wait, but at least they knew I was interested. They said, yes, by all means, we want to put you there. We're waiting for the opportunity. And when the opportunity did come up, I got it. So if anything, even if I hadn't, like on the first one, when I didn't get the opportunity, it was okay because I was ready for it. And I did get it, but it was very, very short time frame, but I got it. But regardless, even if I hadn't gotten it, I was more confident and ready for it. So I was ready to apply for those jobs. I was ready to move into that. It's all about your mindset and moving you into it. And it just takes one tiny step. And that's the problem, is that a lot of times we don't position ourselves in the right direction. We don't know how to move into those situations. So I'm going to answer some questions here. And a lot of what I've talked about, and you can go on to YouTube and you can go on to my LinkedIn profile. You can also go on to Instagram or Facebook, and you can find out a little bit about the steps that I talk about with building confidence, is knowing your strengths and weaknesses. You really want to know those. Stepping out of your comfort zone. I did that. I did that several times. I went and I took the skills, the test, sorry, the class, which had a test. I had to learn. So I kept my skills up, kept them sharp. You want to learn from your failures. I looked at my mistakes that I made in the past, and I made sure that I wasn't repeating those mistakes. When I make a mistake, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. I tell myself that, and then I keep it alive. And one of the things most people know about me, it's pretty funny, is I have issues with not, in the past, double checking my work. It's a faux pas that I've had, and I've had it occasionally. It's just something I have. I move so fast that I really have to slow myself down and double check my work. So guess what? I got little stickies all over my office so that I know that I need to double check my work. I double check my spelling. I double check my work. I make sure that what I'm sending out to you is correct. And I know that's one of my weaknesses, is that I move too fast and I have to slow myself down. And so learning from your weaknesses is really good, and learning from those failures that you've had, which are part of your weaknesses many times, is then you learn and you don't repeat them. So I have all my sticky notes. It's jumping into things that are uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone, and going and talking to management. Oh, that was not in my comfort zone. So I had to learn how to have those hard conversations, let them know that I was interested, and ask them, what can you do for me? What do I need to do to get there? How am I going to get there? What can I do to get into that role? And then if they gave me feedback, which one time I did get some pretty hard feedback, I listened. I wrote it down and I corrected it. So I've done this time and time and time again in my career. And I tell you, it works. And it works because you take one step, just one step towards it, which then creates another step, which then creates another step. And that creates your confidence. It's just like when you're a little kid and you're looking to climb that rock wall and you're going, no way, I can't do that. No, 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 no. Can't is not a word. I prefer not to do that, but I am going to tackle this. And all I did, as you do as a little kid, is you get strapped in and you put one foot up there, which then leads to another, which then leads to another. So positive attitude. I prefer to do this, and I will do this. I am going to do this. And staying in that mindset, stepping outside your comfort zone, learning a new skill, learning from your failures is really important, and knowing your strengths and weaknesses. These are all very important, and having people around you that support you and help you along the way, mentors, coaches, friends, siblings, partners, spouses, having those people that lift you up and make you feel good while you're going through this step. So I'm Robin Cartwright. I'm GEMS Coaching, and that this helps you out. I love chatting with you today. And let me see if I have any questions in my chat. And yeah, I do have one question. and that is how to get started. I have a position I'm going after and I don't know how to get started. So my advice to you is, if you don't know how to get started, it would be to just look at the job, start researching the job that you want to move into, and talk to others that are in that job. Then write down your positive strengths, what it is that you can do, what it is that you've learned, and see if they match. Do you have all the skills for this job, or do you need to go get some training? Talk to others, research. It's a start in the right direction, and while you do it, you will find confidence. Thank you so much for joining me on this live today. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me at hiddengemscoaching.co. You can go to the contact page, and I have 45-minute free time that I can spend with you, and we can talk a little bit about your issues and strategize and see if it's a fit for the two of us. Or you can join my newsletter, which I send out the first of every month, and there's some goodies on there. And every month I have a subject that I'm talking about. Next month we're going to talk a lot about being stuck in your career and how to move forward with it. So we're going to talk about re-engaging and reinventing your career, and hoping that helps you out. Again, have a great day and go shine in your career.